Hello, Sold viewers. Big Ronnie here with another Sold Stay at Home series interview. This is the series where we go behind the scenes into an artist's home, into their studio, showing you how they're dealing with all this pandemic, lock-in, corona, BS. So hopefully show you that they are thriving, they are working, they are painting. Can't wait to talk to today's guest. Got him standing by. Super excited to speak to him. To support us in the future, please take a look at our Patreon page, patreon.com/Sold Magazine. And also, please visit artist online shops. Take a look at their websites, take a look at their Instagrams, pick up something small, pick up some stickers, pick up a small canvas. If you can afford it, pick up, inquire about a commission. In most cases, artists are happy to do it. Don't try reaching out to some people. They don't like commissions. Don't talk to Findex, stuff like that. Silly guy. Love them. But today is Sunday, May 10th, 2020. Today is Mother's Day. And we're going to bring to you a nice interview with a mother right now. And here is Mr. June. Mr. June, how are you, brother?
Hi, Ron. Good to see you.
I meant a brother, not a mother. I'm sorry.
Hi.
So, where are you coming to us from?
I'm now in Rotterdam. I'm sitting in my studio. I've got a little studio on top of my house, and it's in Rotterdam, in the Netherlands.
Now, how is the Netherlands dealing with lockdown? Are you out and about much? Are you sequestered? What is it like over there?
It was like till a week ago, it was quite strict. Like, you cannot hang outside with more than 3 people. And if you go shopping, you have to I think we do meters, so 1.5 meter. So it's like 5 foot from each other, or wear a mask or whatever. So people were definitely afraid and like kind of cautious. But now I think the last week, in a lot of countries in Europe, by the way, all the strict rules are loosened up, and now things are more possible. And even they're speaking of the pubs go open again, and the barber shop is open again. So it's getting better here. Let's say that, yeah.
Now, obviously, you would hope that it's going to continue to get better, but do you think that the way the trend is going, that we're going to see less illnesses and more things opening up as it goes, or hopefully not? Will we see some kind of resurgence or flare-ups or things like that?
Yeah, it's. I think it's a good thing, that people are getting less afraid and loosen up. But there's always the discussion now is the risk for the second wave. You see it in a lot of countries where they did already like loosen up, and then a second wave of the virus came much harder than the first time. So that's the thing. But here I think people are really cautious about that fact. So but I believe in the good things. Like it's gonna be good, and it's gonna be better like sooner as we think. Yeah, let's say that.
Now,
And to be honest,
is your normal process one that keeps you indoors 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day normally for painting? Or is this something that's a little different for you?
it's quite different for me, because to be honest, I think like 80% of my business, what I do is painting murals, is going outside and travel. For the most projects I do they are in the States, and so all those projects, the paintings of the murals, they all got cancelled, of course. So it definitely changed the way I'm working now. And to be honest, I had a quite a severe injury last year, and I fell down from a ladder while I was painting, and broke my leg quite severe, and my ankle was completely shattered. So I was in a wheelchair for almost 8 months, and I had to learn to walk again, and that. So to be inside and to do nothing, and just like the lockdown, what people are feeling now, I did it already for more than a year, so I'm a veteran. So but it didn't get me down or whatever. It just gave me the opportunity to maintain my focus more on my canvas works. So that's what I'm sitting now in front of a few uh, more like serious canvas works, because normally I never had the time to do like proper art or to do canvas works, because I was always outside painting murals and
I think a lot of people don't understand the physical toll that painting a mural takes, and you know, it's one thing if you're not injuring yourself like you did, but just on a normal day going up and down the ladder for 8 hours
yeah,
is
it's
quite the
tough.
physical toll, and people really don't
Absolutely.
understand that all the bending, the stretching,
Yeah,
and limited mobility is a real tough it's a tough sell out there.
it is. Yeah, a lot of people think that, yeah, you've got you know, the life everyone wants, and you see the beautiful things, and you meet like amazing people, and that's all true. But when you have a job or like a big mural to do, it's kind of a hard, yeah, it's a pretty hard job to do physically, because normally I think a lot of us guys, we work like 10, maybe sometimes 12 hours a day, climbing up ladders or climbing up lifts, and you stand up with your hand like the whole day on up. So my right arm is quite strong, and what you say, yeah, it's quite a physical thing. And but
Now,
when you do it a lot, you get trained and you get used to it, so you know.
you mentioned earlier, I'm a veteran. I've been around. You know, it's not your first rodeo and stuff like that, but you got your start in '85 with graffiti. And so in your 35 years of painting, this is really the first time outside of socioeconomic you know, things where people can't afford paint or something like that. But this is really the first time that you can't really go out there and do what you got to do.
Yeah, yeah, because of the virus now, and I had the situation like last year because of my injury. But indeed, it was the first time you get like, yeah, from I think from a power above, and just to say that you can do what you love to do. So yeah, but I always I'm sure of the like a lot of artists, we all are creative minds, and really think that the creative mind is a mind who can solve problems. That I think that's what we do. We solve problems. So even now, I think a lot of artists, if they cannot do what they used to do, they s- they s- they're gonna solve it, because you have a creative mind and you have the ability to solve those problems. And my my biggest fear is not to be able to do what I want to do. Doesn't matter. The medium doesn't matter. If you know, if you cannot walk again, yeah, you can paint like canvases or whatever, you know. But just you have to, yeah, you have to create, and it doesn't matter who or what says you cannot do that. Is always a solution.
You know, we've heard artists say that in tough times come great art. Do you think that this is one of those times as well?
I think for a lot of artists, definitely, yeah. But when I have to reflect it on my situation now, not so much, because yeah, you have to know, when I used to paint also canvases, but it was not like what I do now. But I like 20 years ago, I used to paint canvases, but they all were like more. I painted those out of my emotion, and that was the, I think, the best pieces I did at that time. There were pieces when I felt like, yeah, or sad or not really happy, or I didn't feel like really, yeah, really like the center in myself. So at those times I painted, I think, the most beautiful paintings. But for the last almost 8 years, I do really my graphic style, my really abstract styles. I don't paint them out of my emotions. For me, it's just I'm just studying one shape, and that's just all the paintings I make. I don't have an emotional bonding with them. They are just little chapters of my study. But definitely, I think a lot of artists, yeah, it's like in nature also. When you put a lion in a corner, he can jump like they jump in weird directions, and they do crazy things, and that can be a positive thing also. Like, yeah, I'm used to, like, I had for the last few years, um, I had a lot of quite of shitty things happen to me, but I think it doesn't get me like um, get me down or whatever. I'm just, I don't know why, because maybe I'm a thinker, but also I'm like almost like a Buddhist. There's always, I can really focus on the beautiful things and on the positive things in everything what happened to us. For example, it's Mother's Day today, and I think, I don't believe in coincidence, but my mom died just exactly 2 years ago. But it's not a sad thing for me. It's just a step in your life, and I always try to pick up the good things of that, and that's how you learn, and that's how you grow, and that's how you can develop also your creative thoughts and movements.
Now, like a lot of people that worked in the 80s, your love for graffiti was partially out of your love for hip hop.
Yeah,
Why don't you
yeah,
tell us a little bit about that and your b-boy career?
yeah, yeah. It was not really a career, but with I was, I think, 12, 13 years, something like that. We were with a few friends of mine. We were totally into the hip hop. I remember we were going once a week. We going to a bigger city. I grew up in the south of Holland, in a small city. And once a week we go to a bigger city by train to go to what we knew at that time, a record store who had like a lot of hip hop records, and we bought of the money we how do you say, we saved. We bought like the first hip hop albums, and we listened them like crazy. But those were in Holland. There was the first line of hip hop. There was like, yeah, the KOS1, BDP, the LL Cool J. At those times, the first. And from that, from listening to the hip hop, there came the b-boying, breakdancing we did, and just on a carton box on the streets. And from there we discovered some parties, and we went to parties, and to had like back in the days, you had in the, how do you say, in a discotheque, and then like normally around 10, 11 o'clock, there was a big circle in the middle. How do you see on from the movies? And then you knew the other crew were there, and then you had to battle, and then one on one, and breakdancing. And a few years later, we discovered, I think, through one of the first graffiti movies, we had a legal copy on a VHS, and there was a video, and I think it was Wild Style or Breakdance or whatever. We saw them for the breakdance, for the moves, just to learn how to, and to bite the new moves. And then if me and a friend of mine, we discovered the graffiti for the first time. There was, in my city at that time, in the whole neighborhood, there was no graffiti at all. It was like unknown. And that was, I think that we made a click of, hey, that's like one of the elements of hip hop we really digged and we really loved it. and we tried all the we made stills of the video, and then we tried to draw them over, and from there on, I think we picked it up, and just, yeah, I think just to do a lot, you learn it, and maybe you probably know it. And back in the time, you didn't had like internet or mobiles or whatever, just to discover a lot of yourself. Um, so that was the graffiti. I still love to do graffiti though. The whole culture and the lettering. It's still like one of the elements I really love to do. But to be honest, I didn't do. I started in '91, like the Academy of Arts in Utrecht, in a big city. And I think from '92 till 2004, something like that, I didn't do anything with spray paint or with graffiti. I just lost it, or I just picked it up years later. So I had there's a little gap. I always, when I heard people say, yeah, you're painting already like almost 35 years, I say, yeah, well, that's not the truth. But okay, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the work that we see behind you there.
Mm-hmm.
In our research, we read how you described the hexagon as the perfect shape. What makes you
Exactly.
say that?
Yeah, the first step, to be honest, I was between 1999 and 2009. I had a graphic design studio. I was a graphic designer. And after that, and I think at 2010, I really started to do more paintings and more graffiti, like proper again, because of the fact that I didn't had so much clients anymore in my graphic design. So I really wanted to start something where I can dive into. And I think because I was so used to have like assignments with clients, and every client has a few guidelines, or they want something, but it has to be like a poster or whatever. And I always said to clients, okay, but did you think about the medium? Why do you want a website, or why do you want a poster? So with those restrictions, I always felt it like a challenge to put my creativity in it. And I think when I started to do fine arts, or also the murals I'm doing now, I think I put myself into quite a narrow space with quite a lot of restrictions, just to challenge myself. Um, and I just wanted to focus on a shape. Yeah, to be honest, I think my biggest goal is uh, to come up with a new shape. That's what I said also in a conversation last week. So he asked me like, what's your goal? Like, what would you try to achieve? And I think it would be super cool how do you say, to, excuse me for my language, because English is
Create, invent.
invent, exactly, invent like a new shape. Let's say I made a shape what never existed before. No one's seen it before. That's like, it's not possible, I think now, but yeah, you never know. So with that kind of mindset, I really was trying from, okay, let's see what's, for me, what's the perfect shape, what's like the perfect shape in nature or in physics or in. And then I read a lot about the Fibonacci series. I don't know if you know the
Yes.
Fibonacci, the golden things, and there were a lot of numbers, and it's all like connected with things in nature. the flowers, with the things in motion, with animals, and also with the stars, and it's endless. So with that study is a whole like almost mathematics sum. I came up with the hexagon, and that's what I've been painting for the last years. I always paint hexagons, and that's for me like a quite narrow. They all uh, like straight canvases, but it's all the shape. The main shape is all a hexagon, and that's just for me like to play around with those restrictions and to see what I can do with that. And the funny thing is, all my murals, maybe if you know my work, it's all like quite abstract and straight, but if you analyze all my murals, it's all like with the same, with this angle and this angle, and it's all cut and paste from all the paintings from the hexagons.
Do you think that coming from the wide open, do whatever you want world of graffiti makes that type of restricted painting style more interesting to you?
For me, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Um, it's a strange combination of. I came up with a point that I did like I did a little bit of fine arts. I still did graffiti, and I had my graphic design. But I felt there was a moment I felt that I had to choose just to go uh, for one direction, because otherwise there were three different islands, and the graffiti was just like still for the fun and the experiment, and the fine arts were just getting more abstract, but not sure what I'm doing with that. And I found out in my graphic design when I years later I viewed back what I did for the past 10 years. uh, I I realized that I already had quite a severe, quite a like a handwriting, a style, also in my graphic design. So at one point, I really decided I just want to do one thing, and then I decided, from okay, let's combine all the three things: the graffiti, the graphic design, and my fine arts. And then I came up and hey, what I did for all those years, also in graphic design, there were already, when you see my old graphic design stuff, I think it's all unconscious, but it was already in my system. There was already like a lot of hexagons and a lot of work. All my graphic works was also like, you know, like one color and shapes with the shading and with the, so this, all these comes from my graphic design in combination with my graffiti. Because also back in the days, I think in graffiti, I was one of the first who didn't do any outlines anymore. Even in the 90s, I did like pieces with letters, but with no outlines. Because I thought like, yeah, well, the color and the color combinations with dark light and next to each other, they already worked, and you didn't. I thought I didn't have to do the lines on top of it. But there was at that time in the graffiti scene, there was no graffiti anymore, so people didn't know how to react on that. So I think based on all those little things, for me, it's just, yeah, it feels like nature. This is what there was no like plan or like, oh, I have to do something like this and that. It developed like quite naturally, I think. Yeah.
What was the first tag you wrote?
June. It was, yeah, it's really true. The first tag was June, and to be honest, for those first years, I didn't know it was the month of June in English, because I'm Dutch, and the word June was just like, it sounded cool, and it was for me like, in that time you can write it really quickly, so you can be on the streets like in one movement, and was yeah, it flowed really nice. And it came out like years later. That was in English, like the month of June. So I always had that name, June.
When did you add the Mister, and is that more popular overseas
Yeah,
than over here?
no, the Mister came. To be honest, I love to say because of my age. You know, I'm almost 50. 50. I'm 48 now. So you know, it's more serious, but that's not the truth. It came. To be honest, I started quite late with the whole Instagram, the whole thing, and I discovered when with the whole hashtag communication. When I did like a hashtag June, you come. It was like millions of the month June. So I had to figure out from, hey, how can I make a, how do you say, make a difference between just hashtag for the month June, and then I came up with Mister. But then once in a while I get some emails or pictures sent from friends of mine. When you Google Mr. June, you probably see my work, but after that you see also a lot of like good
Fireman
looking.
calendars, naked police officers and stuff like that.
Exactly those. I've got a whole selection of them. Yeah.
All right, one more question before we let you go. What do you hope is going to be changed in the world or in the scene after this whole pandemic thing happens, and what could the art scene do to help?
What can the art scene help? Um, I really hope that uh, the thing with the situation now, there is gonna be like a financial crisis. It's knocking on the doors now. He's coming, and I'm afraid he's coming like quite severe. And I felt it like really on a hard way, like in 2008 with also the financial crisis, when people are, you know, scared uh, to move around with money and don't have any money anymore, and how do you say, like in financial crisis also with businesses, the first thing where they're gonna skip in to save some money is in arts, because at that time arts is a um, is a luxury. You know, it's not a primal thing anymore. So I'm afraid we're gonna feel that even more than we're feeling now. But yeah, let's hope I'm wrong, but probably that's gonna be the situation, because of, you know, making things more beautiful. It's not a primer. How do you say? Next to food or a roof above your head. It's like art is in like secondary, maybe third, in the third or fourth.
Well, as being someone that survived the 2008 financial crisis as a working artist at the time,
Mhm.
what tips do you have for younger artists going through this today?
Yeah, yeah. Just don't be afraid to be flexible. You know, don't try to stuck on what you do or what you like used to do or where you feel comfortable in. Uh, I think every creative mind can always solve their problems, but don't be afraid to step into a, you know, like a new era. Or and I really be uh, how to say, to be honest, I think even in like a 5 year time, you have to change your medium or your, you know, otherwise you're stuck into doing tricks. And I think when you're in a mannerism, I don't know if that's English, mannerism. A mannerism is the the way of doing your work, but then only using tricks. And if you're getting there, you're no, then it's over, I think, for a creative mind. So a creative mind has to evolve. You have to challenge yourself once a while. So don't be afraid to dive into a new alley.
Well, I think that's great advice. You know, we're always interested to hear how people around the world are going through this. You know, every artist is struggling in their own way, but we're all together if we can communicate about it. You know, I really appreciate your time today, Mr. June. That was a fast half hour, as they usually go when you're having a good conversation. But before I let you go, please let our viewers know where they can find you online, your website and Instagram.
Yeah, my website is mrjune.com. It's MRJUNE.com. And my Instagram is, yeah, because it's David June Loof. Can you see it?
Yes. And I talked, so now we can't see it. But Mr. June, thank you very much for your time. That was a nice chat. I look forward to meeting you in in person. And you know, please keep working. Keep doing what you're doing. We look forward to see what's coming next.
Yeah, you too. Same to you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, man.